Hey, what's up? It's Tony from Street Church. Welcome to the Inside Job Podcast. Hey, this is our third and final week of a series called Meeting People Where They Are and Not Where They Should Be. Hey, being that this is our last week of this series, it means this. It's going to be the best. It's going to be a knockout. Hey, listen, if you're listening to me right now, if you call yourself a Christian, the only reason why you are is because God was willing to bend down and meet you and meet us, meet all of us, where we were and not where we should have been, right? It's all of our stories. So, and I think that when we recognize that, when we embrace that, it can change our perspective on all things God, right? It can help us to realize and recognize the truth that the Lord is compassionate and gracious. Like, he is not compassionate if we do this, or he's not compassionate when we get our act together. The Lord is compassionate. That's an indicative. It's a factual statement. Always was, always is, and always will be. And when we recognize that, and when we begin to follow in that example, and when we care for people, and when we enter into those, tough spaces of people's lives, when they're not doing so well, when they're not living in ways that they should be, when they're in the center of trouble or a train wreck situation, when we enter into those spaces and when we love them well, it can help people to really recognize that the Lord is compassionate. It's not contingent upon what we do or what we don't do. And it can change their perspective on God, and it can change the trajectory of their entire life potentially. So, yeah, really, really important. There's a wonderful story I want to close with. It's in John chapter 8. Everyone has heard of this probably, right? I'll give you the quick Tony Palumbo version. It's about the woman who was caught in adultery and brought to Jesus. So a bunch of Pharisees went and they grabbed this woman it says that they caught her and they grabbed her in the very act. And they brought her out to Jesus to see what he was going to do about the situation, what he was going to say. So Jesus is outside. He's got a group of people around her. And these guys, they just go into this house and they grab this woman who's caught in the very act of adultery. Notice what it does not say. It didn't say that she was accused of adultery. No, she was in the act. That's another A. That's not accusation. That's act. So that means, and I'm sure that they didn't grab her and say, hey, maybe you should put a blouse on before you see, Jesus. Let's put some clothes on you, right? No, they probably dragged her out buck naked in front of the Savior of the world. And they said, what should we do about this woman? In the law, it says that we should stone such a woman. What do you say? And Jesus, he goes to the ground and he writes something on the ground. And people have just debated about what he wrote for centuries and centuries. I don't think it really, really matters, right? So he gets up and he says, he who is without sin, throw the first stone. Okay? So one by one, they get convicted and realize that they have no right to throw stones at her because they're all sinners. And she's left alone. It's just her and Jesus. And Jesus, by right, being that he is without sin, has the authority to pick up a stone and to stone her, right? But Jesus turns to her. He lifts up her face. And he looks at her and goes, where are your accusers? Is there anybody here who condemns you? And she says, no. And he says, well, neither do I. And then he says, stop it. He says, go and sin no more. He says, stop it. So in other words, I believe it's sort of like this, right? Being that I was willing to demonstrate compassion on you, and mercy on you, and not condemn you in a place where you should not have been. Being that I was willing to meet you in a place that you should not have been, all right? And care for you in that place, and show compassion to you in that place, it should result in you changing your behavior, changing your lifestyle. Stop acting like you are acting. Allow the fact that I met you where you were, not where you should have been, that I demonstrated compassion on you, to change the trajectory of how you live your life. And I gotta believe it did. I met a woman I was gonna say last week, but actually it was only a few days ago, okay? I was on the streets. I had some, underwear on me. I had some socks in a bag. I just wanted to go and share the gospel and meet people and see if anybody needed any assistance. So, I ran into this woman who was in a tough situation, right? And she's a heroin addict. And she couldn't have been more than, 100 pounds wet, right? And I start a conversation with her. And, after 15 minutes, I'm sitting there holding her. I'm praying with her. She's crying in my arms. I gave her some phone numbers and some addresses and some resources for help if she needed help. And it was almost like I felt her experiencing the very compassion of God, all because, I was willing to go out and meet her in a place that she shouldn't be, in a place that has destroyed her life. I didn't wait for the better version of her to get her act together. And neither does, God. And because of that, it can not only change our perspective on all things God, but it can change the course of our lives forever. One for the road. With God, you never know. You never know. The Lord is compassionate. He is not compassionate when or if. The Lord is compassionate. Hey, I got a new series lined up for you guys. I'm excited about it. Until then, remember, count each day a new life. Have a great day. I'll see you guys next time.